Health and Fitness with David Hollywood with the all-new Midlands Park Health and Fitness Club, midlandsparkhotel.com. Midlands 103.
Good evening and welcome to Health and Fitness on Midlands 103. Cameron Clark here, filling in for your usually exceptionally presenter David Hollywood for the next hour. We'll be kicking off the show with a bit of a yoga special. We'll also hear about the history of cricket and its relevance in Laois. A bit later on in the show, however, we'll discuss gut health and its connection with the menstrual cycle. But first on Health and Fitness on Midlands 103, the Midlands has some pretty famous festivals. Electric Picnic, to name one, of course, springs to mind. But there's a new picnic in town, and that's the Yoga Picnic in Westmeath. And if you're unsure as to what that is, that's okay, because I'm happy to say Katie Harrison joins me on the line to talk us through it. Katie, good evening.
Hi, how are you doing? Thanks for having me. The Yoga Picnic is a new yoga and wellbeing festival in County Westmeath, and I guess it's a day for people to come and try out yoga or practice yoga if they have been practicing it for a while. It's we have over 100 offerings with different classes of yoga practices, meditation practices. We have stand-up paddle boarding, we have a luxury spa, we have drumming, we have all sorts of different types of classes. It's kind of a place for everyone to go. So you could be someone that has never tried yoga before, or you could be a yoga teacher who's been doing it for the last 30 years, and there's something for everybody. We have men's classes, we have women's classes, we have yoga for children. Actually, the children go free, so anyone under 12 goes free. So it's a really nice place for a family day out as well. Or if you want to just go and catch up with old friends, you know, it's just something for everyone. And it's a place to go to learn about both physical and mental health and well-being. So that's something that we really want to instill in everybody, is how to kind of live your life in a holistic way, where you can learn at the Yoga Picnic different types of ways to bring yoga and education and well-being into your life.
We spoke just before the show, and you mentioned that you started this the Yoga Picnic with two other people. How did an idea like this come about?
So my sister Alice Harrison and her friend Mary Gardner, they both live in Westmeath, and they began just kind of coming up with an idea of a small little yoga picnic. And originally I think it was supposed to just be a couple of teachers coming together, a way to meet people, a way to kind of create a beautiful day out. And a way just to give people a sense of belonging around the Midlands. The Midlands was lacking this type of a day out. So they just thought, we'll get together, we'll start off a little small event. And then it just became really like in demand. And the first year there was just over 100 people at it, and it was really successful and it sold out. And then the following year, I got on board because we decided to make it bigger, and we decided to bring it up to 300. Then the 300 tickets sold rapidly, much quicker than we expected. So we increased capacity to 500 and then to 1,000. And we sold out last year's event a couple of weeks beforehand. So it just really grew kind of with the demand that was around the Midlands. And it was amazing to watch that happen, because this was something that, at the beginning, we weren't sure if the Midlands, wanted that kind of event around, but then the tickets just sold out so quickly, and we knew that this was something that was really needed in this area. And then this year we've increased capacity as well, with our early bird tickets selling out in 9 minutes. So that was incredible. And we still have some tickets left. So it's coming up now on the 7th of July. So yeah, we're really excited for this year, and hopefully the sun will stay for us.
Every festival has its demographic, a type of person who tends to go to certain festivals. Yeah. From your own experience, what kind of demographic do you see the Yoga Picnic as having, or is it something that really is catered to everybody?
Well, I think we have catered this to every kind of type of person. Like some people might look at it and say, oh, I've never done yoga. That's not a place for me. But we have, because it's a whole day with over 100 different classes, the great thing about it is that it's like a taster session. So if you haven't ever done yoga, it is something that you can try a few different types, because there isn't just one type of yoga. You can try lots of different types. And also then you could actually go and do a whole day and not do any yoga at all, because we have mental health talks, we have food demonstrations, we have the luxury spa with the hot tubs and ice baths, we have drumming, we have music, we have a concert in the evening. So you could actually go and not do any yoga, or if you wanted to go and spend the whole day doing a really strong practice all day, you could do that too. So because we have it targeted at all different people from all different walks of life, such as, men, rugby players, women that are mothers. We have different pregnancy yogas and classes and mothers circles and different things happening. And then we have things like laughter yoga and children's yoga. So we really feel that it is kind of open to everyone. And that's something that's really important to us, is that keeping that open feeling to everybody, because I do know sometimes people feel a little bit difficult to try out something new, whereas our whole ethos is to try and make people feel welcome and that they belong in this space as well.
So I'm getting the sense that the experience of the yoga picnic is one of its big draws, but you have brought in some big names in terms of people in the yoga industry in a bid to attract people. Could you walk me through some of those?
Yeah, so this year we're really excited about our lineup. We have an incredible lineup of teachers. We have people. One of our goals this year is to try and bring the yoga picnic onto the international world stage, so that people from other countries are traveling to the Midlands to see, to come to then experience the yoga picnic. So we have some headliners like Adam Hustler and Kagi Dunlop and Celeste Pereira coming from the UK. We've Benita Wolf coming from the USA. We have Sylvia Schneider coming from Austria. She is a celebrity chef over in Austria. And then we have loads of incredible Irish teachers too, such as Sheila Shoiga and Kitty Maguire and Sinead Mooney and Etna Kennedy, and the list goes on. We have so many incredible people that are all coming together on the one day, which is just kind of is magical when it all comes together on the day. So yeah, we're really, really excited about the lineup that we have today, and it's kind of a day in the events calendar in the Midlands you definitely don't want to miss.
Some of those teachers that are outside Ireland, I imagine when you pitch the idea of a yoga festival in Ireland, it may have come as a bit of a surprise. What was that experience like in trying to, draw their attention to the Midlands and to a festival which is rather unique?
Yeah, so actually, our experience has been really amazing. We've had nothing but excitement for coming to Ireland, because a couple of these teachers have actually never been to Ireland. So they're really excited to see what Ireland is like and to see, how things go over here. So they're really, really excited. They've taught in, different places like America, all over the UK, India, in South America, all sorts of different places. And I think they're all just really excited to come over to Ireland, because I think we all know that there's something special about Ireland and the people of Ireland that people from other countries want to experience as well.
A big part of this year's yoga picnic is the sustainability factor, and I understand you've made some strides in terms of in that aspect. Could you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So this year we're really excited to partner with Kia Ireland, and we actually are bringing a first of its kind sustainability initiative this year for a festival. No other festivals are doing something like this in Ireland. So this year all of our tents are going to be powered by Kia electric vehicles. So it means that it lowers our use of the diesel generators, which are usually used on site for power. So we're really excited to be able to do that and to bring this and to try and take another step on our journey of sustainability. And it is one of the biggest parts of the yoga picnic, that we really do we want to leave no trace and kind of tread lightly. So we do have like a one-use plastic free festival, and We are, all our vendors everything is ethically produced and they're using compostable materials. And, that's something that it's all vegetarian food. And it's like, we really work hard on that to make sure that any of the brands that we do partner with or any of the vendors that we have on site, they all align with our values as well. We're also partnering with Home Tree Charity as well. So a portion of all our tickets will go to Home Tree Charity for some land restoration in the west of Ireland. So, that is something that, we want to create an amazing day, but we also don't want to, leave any trace of that day. So, yeah, we're really working hard on that. And it is one of the most important aspects of it.
Is it challenging to create a festival with that sort of sustainability in mind? I imagine it adds a few more levels to it when it comes to planning everything out, that you can't go for the easy option of using multi-use plastics, using anything like that.
Absolutely, yeah. Like we have come up against challenges like that in lots of different aspects, but I think everyone is beginning to realize the importance of it and how we do need to kind of take these steps towards a greener future. So we are finding that when we find brands that we align with, or vendors or teachers or anything like that, like everyone is taking those steps, and it's education as well. So we have a panel discussion on the day as well, all about sustainability in businesses and that aren't usually sustainable. So for the example of Kia cars or fashions, usually fast fashion is a massive difficulty at the moment, but we have a discussion about it, and we believe that educating our attendees is something that's really important, because it's the thing with sustainability is that it is something that goes beyond the festival day. You need to learn about it and then you can take it into your own lives. So it is something that we want to kind of pass on to not only like work with other brands and other people, but also to the attendees on the day. We want to pass on the education of how they then can bring a more sustainable way of living into their lives too.
One last question before I let you go, Katie. A lot of festivals, particularly around Ireland, will be multi-day events now, and they've kind of gotten away from the single-day festival. Is that something you've considered, or is it something that may be on the cards in the future?
Absolutely, yeah, that is definitely in our goals, our mission. But at the moment, we want to really concentrate on making the festival just a really beautiful experience for everyone. So we're not going in whole hog 2 days, or 3 days at the beginning. We are still a grassroots festival. We're in our third year of it, and we want to make sure that when people come to the day, they have the most incredible experience, relaxed experience, a real authentic feel to the day. And to do that, we want to increase our capacity incrementally and increase the days incrementally as well. So we want to make sure that our attendees' experience comes first, and that once we know that everyone is having, the best possible day that they can have, then we will increase the capacity or the days, but definitely that is something that we want to do, is bring it up to 2 or 3 days. Yeah, for sure. The tickets are still available and they're on theyogapicnic.com, and we are a week and a half away from the 7th of July. So the tickets we sold out last year. So we're anticipating a sellout event again this year. So if you are interested in coming, to definitely just get your tickets as soon as possible.
Absolutely. Katie, thank you so much for your time.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Take care.
That was Katie Harrison. What do you think? Would you like to attend the yoga picnic? It kicks off next Sunday, the 7th of July, at Lilliput House in Westmeath. We're not done talking yoga just yet, because after the break, Midlands 103's Amelia Averis is going to try some hot yoga.
Health and fitness with the newly refurbished Midlands Park Health and Fitness Club. Take the plunge in a new routine with our swimming pool, plunge pool, jacuzzi, sauna and steam room. For more, visit midlandsparkhotel.com.
Midlands 103.
You're very welcome back to the programme. Before the break, we heard about the yoga picnic, and we're not done talking yoga just yet. Have you ever tried hot yoga? It's okay if you haven't, because Amelia Averis has, from Midlands 103, and she's going to tell you all about it.
It is a lovely summer's evening. I am at the Strength and Conditioning Centre in Tullamore, and I'm about to do hot yoga. It's the beginner's session, which I was recommended because I've done yoga before, but I've never done hot yoga. So let's see how it goes.
Your chit chat? Yeah. Interrupting anything? Okay. Well, you're all very welcome. So my name's Ash. So we're going to start the practice that Mark is going to guide you in. To start with, lie down and get nice and comfortable. Now let's do some yoga.
Yoga's origins can be traced to northern India over 5,000 years ago and is amongst the 6 schools of philosophy in Hinduism. It is also a major part of Buddhism and its meditation practices.
Start to rock and roll down the length of the spine. So take one little rock and roll, see how it feels. Take a few more.
The practice is meditative and can bring an awareness to the body that can bring someone into the present moment.
Nice. You're going to remember your breath here. So you're moving with your breath. Your inhales, you're getting expansive and tall. And then exhale, maybe guide them into that twist a little bit deeper. Nothing restrictive, nothing forced, no tension in the face or shoulders.
Yoga is a grounding and anchoring practice. The postures allow you to reap the benefits of flexibility, improved muscle strength, protection of the spine, increased blood flow, and even improved happiness. And it is not just reserved to in the yoga studio. The wisdom of ancient yoga is divided into 5 basic principles: proper exercise, proper breathing, proper relaxation, proper diet, and positive thinking and meditation. The original language of yoga is Sanskrit, which is why in yoga practice you hear words like vinyasa or chaturanga. It was brought to the West through the translation of yogic texts from Sanskrit to English.
Spread your fingertips here, but take a little lean from side to side. So as you inhale, move over onto one of those wrists. And then as you exhale, come onto that second. So moving with your breath. Inhaling and exhaling, whatever the length of your inhale and exhale looks like. Begin to connect the movements with us.
The first style described as hot yoga is that of Bikram Choudhury, who claimed to have devised it from traditional hatha yoga techniques, but then increased the temperature of the studios whilst in Japan to represent the heat of India. Today, people still practice Bikram or hot yoga. Research has shown that hot yoga or Bikram yoga has many additional benefits to yoga. It can improve flexibility as certain poses are more accessible with the heat of the room and dilated blood vessels. It can build strength. It strengthens bones, burns more calories, reduces stress, supports cardiovascular health due to the deepening of breathing in the heated room, and improves skin quality by flushing out toxins. It also improves mental health through the mindfulness of being in the heat and being aware of one's own body.
And our last little moment of gratitude is for the practice that you gave yourself this evening. The practice that we got to share, getting to move together in a safe space without judgment. We're going to take about close your practice with gratitude. Namaste.
After the session, I spoke with instructor and yogi Ashley Guilfoyle about the practice and its benefits.
So obviously this is a beginner's class, this is a much slower pace, so we, keep the practice a little bit, I don't want to say simpler, that sounds like a little bit, I suppose, gentler, more talk about the stretches and the spaces where you want to get in shapes, and just making sure that people don't look at me and go, oh, I have to do that, because everyone's body moves differently.
Yeah, that's the beauty of yoga, I think.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And then the Monday and the Thursday classes and the Saturday classes is much harder, and that would be a lot of people that maybe use the gym here, so they would use the gym and then come in here maybe to work on their mobility, and some of them like to just do that yang energy.
Yoga's good because it's not like you've got to push yourself and there's no excuses.
So it's the complete opposite of the gym that we have here. We are like yin and yang.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm like, take a rest. And the guys are there, come on.
Yeah.
One more rep. Well, so there's lots of benefits. You said sometimes your awareness of your breath, and also the fact that you're quite hot. It can take you away from thinking, oh God, what do I need to get now little on the way home? Because you're thinking, it's quite hot in here. Isn't it quite hot? Yeah, it's quite. I need to keep breathing, otherwise I'm going to overheat. But physically, it's really good. It's quite good for your body too. Like, it's good for detox. It's also good for the muscles. So obviously when we move, we warm the muscles up. But if you're already, like, when we start the practice, everyone's quite warm. We're all quite loose, like the shoulders are relaxed. So you can allow yourself to move a little bit deeper, a little bit safer as well. If the muscles are cold and you're, quite a tight person, you're trying to move into a stretch area on the practice, it it can be a bit more challenging.
I know what you mean about not being able to focus on anything else.
Yeah, like it is good.
It makes you so mindful of you. And also I found that when I moved, I felt the heat hit me even more. So it was like I was really mindful of myself in the space.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Oh, good. And then like it is quite a big space, because I know some studios can be quite small space, so we always want this space in between people, because I think it's very important, like in the world that is so busy, that we all have to, like, this tunnel vision, you have to go here, you have to go here, like, do we ever just kind of run around? Like, I love this space, because it is a big space, yeah. And it heats up really well too, which is good.
It does heat up.
It was really nice to not be pushed to my physical limits. Instead, I was being pushed to my mental limits, because it was about holding this pose and being mindful of the breath. And like I was saying, because the air is hot, you're so aware of it in your body. And she kept talking about this fire and referring to the breath as fire. And you really, really felt that when you felt it move through your body. Even just being aware of your body and how it's trying to cool itself down. I was sweating from places I don't think I've ever sweat before. It was tough. I finished that movement feeling energised rather than depleted, which I think is something that's really important. Not every workout, movement, exercise needs to leave you feeling like you need to lie on the sofa for a week. It sometimes is just about looking after your body, and that's what I feel like I've done this evening.
And that was Midlands 103's Amelia Averis on her experience trying out hot yoga. Next on Health and Fitness, we're going to learn about the history of cricket in Laois.
Health and Fitness with the all-new Midlands Park Health and Fitness Club, with fitness classes to suit everyone. Experience the warmth at 30 degrees in our dedicated spin studio. Discover all this and more on midlandsparkhotel.com. Midlands 103.
You're very welcome back to the programme here on Midlands 103. The history of cricket in Laois dates back nearly 200 years to the 1830s. But what's allowed the sport to survive in the county for such a long period? James Bennett is an author from Portlaoise. He's penned a new book, The Story of Cricket in Laois, which looks into the links between cricket and the social, political and cultural history of Laois. He's been telling Midlands 103's David Hollywood of his motivation behind writing the book.
I had done a few books during COVID because of lockdown, and I had finished the project when Roland Bradley, a friend of mine who has done such great work for cricket in Laois, Roland received a few photographs from Mrs. Russell, whose family were Grey Russell, of cricket being played in Stradbally. And he said, would you write a few words about them? So I have always struggled with the concept of a few. So I wrote a lot of words. And then I said, look, I'd like to write something about Laois's spell in Tucker, where the club was from 1985 until 2018. But Roland said, no, that's actually a bit narrow. I prefer if you went back to 1970 when the club started in Tullamore, and then you can involve the Midland League and teams in Mullingar, Cloughan, Kilbride, Edenderry and so on. So that pushed it a little bit back. And then I went to a coffee morning, heritage morning down in the library in Portlaoise, and I met a lad who had been a few years ahead of me in school, and he said, he asked me how was I doing. He said, I'm messing around with a book. And he said, my dad played cricket. And I said, did he play with Marlborough? Now, you notice I'm using Marlborough, which is the local pronunciation, rather than Maryborough. I said, no, he didn't. No, he didn't play with Marlborough. He played with Mountmellick. And that was the catalyst for me to go from the story of Laois Cricket Club to the story of cricket in Laois. And that brought me back to 1833 when the first game was played on the Great Heath.
OK, well now we're going back proper in time then. So tell us, how did cricket develop in the county in a brief synopsised version? How did cricket come about in Laois and how did it develop over the years?
Basically, the cricket in Laois for the first 100 years in Queen's County and then in Laois was what we'll call big house cricket. They didn't like competitions, they didn't like leagues, it was basically members of the gentry. You got access to a field, you played a game of cricket, and then you might have got access to a different field. So it was entirely, for that first 100 years, big house cricket. So the persons who played in the first game in 1833 were members of the Cosby family. And that gives you continuity because the patron and president of Laois Cricket Club today is Thomas Cosby. And it played against a military team that was based in the town. So you're looking at big house cricket for that period. And then you go into the 1840s, and we had the first example of professional sports people. During the famine, that was a horrific period in Irish cricket, Irish life. And the British had a difficulty with the concept of social welfare. So you had to do something for the money. So that some of them they filled holes in the road, some of them did walls, some of them built follies. But the Viscount Ashbrook in Durrow decided to pay some of his tenants to play cricket. Okay. And that's the first example of professional sportsmen in Ireland. So we had the scorebook. Roland Bradley bought it along with the gentleman who owns Durrow Castle, Mr. Stokes. They bought the book. The book was found on a skip some years ago. So I had the scorebook, and the gentlemen's name were all down as Esquire. And then when you saw somebody with just a surname, he was one of the tenant farmers, and they got either 2 shillings or a shilling. They got money to play, and they got money to attend practice, and they would have got food. And you can imagine during the famine how important that was, because you were able to bring food home and that. So that's the 1840s. Into the 1850s, Crimean War, bit slack, because the army teams weren't available. They were doing other things. Into the 1860s, schools became very, very important. Portarlington was a hotbed of educational advancement, and I'm speaking as a former principal of a school. So there was a school called St. Germain's, there was a school called Foxcroft, but the most important one was Arlington House. And the reason it was the most important was one of the people who attended it was Sir Edward Carson, who led the Unionist resistance to Home Rule. And he was the secretary of the cricket club, and he also played on the club. So, and now the school, Portarlington, then they had dressing rooms, they were going to hire a professional, and so on. And teams came down from Trinity and from Dublin. So now you had the schools. So into the 1870s, the Freeman's Journal, which was the nationalist paper, it looked as if cricket was going to become the national sport. Now, it had everything going for it. The landlord provided the field, he provided the bats, he provided the balls, he provided the gear. The only thing you had to provide was a white shirt. And it was appreciably less dangerous than unregulated football, unregulated hurling. So, and the Freeman's Journal said it looked like the next generation are going to make it the national sport. You got in then to the late 1870s, there was horrific weather, rained all the time, which had an impact on the crops. The tenants weren't able to pay the landlords weren't able to pay the suppliers. There was also a credit crisis, and this was the start of what we call everything coming badly together. The Land League was set up because you had disaffected tenants, you had parliamentarians who were also upset, and you had Fenians. The land war started.
I was going to ask you, because when you get to the late 1800s, obviously there's a revival of Gaelic culture, for want of a better expression. And is this where cricket's prominence started to ebb away?
Partially. In 1884, then you got the GAA, and then you got the Irish Ireland revival, and anybody thing involved in English was referred to as a Shawneen. You got all of that. You got the burn everything British except our coal. So you got that, yes, now partially. But Paul Rouse, the very distinguished Offaly man, Professor Paul, who has written brilliantly about sport, he would argue that it was actually the cricket establishment that caused a lot of the demise, and I'm some of the way with him. Their resistance to organising the game was far worse. They wouldn't have leagues, they wouldn't have competitions. They simply wanted to play social cricket, bit of a dance, few old drinks, bit of gallery, and then we'll go home. And perhaps, now it wasn't a huge issue in Ireland at the latest, and a bit of gambling. But you're looking at, now you also remember there was residual bitterness as a result of the famine.
Yes. Where
there was emigration and the gentry were held responsible. So now the cricket was declining, but really declining, as Professor Rouse would say, declining mostly due to the refusal to organise. See, to get a game of cricket, you had to put an ad in the paper. This club is available to play so many Saturdays, or is not available. Or this club is a challenge. So there was no structures, and I mean, it's much more difficult then. So now if you have a row over a decision, you fall out over an LBW or something, you're not going to be playing them the following week because you're not talking to them anymore. And then you had, when lads fell out over Parnell, On the way home, the lads broke the windows as their contribution to political discourse. So you're looking at a gradual, everything coming together to result in bad news for cricket. Now, the problem with the GA was actually cricket used to have the monopoly of the summer sports.
Yes.
Now you're competing. Now, it wasn't a problem unless the area had a low population. Now it was a problem because people had to choose. You were competing for players. The ban only came in the early 1900s. So it wasn't really an issue because a lot of the people who played cricket weren't going to play GA anyway. But you're looking at cricket getting caught in a crossfire of negativity. And that's really coming in then to the World War One, where a lot of people from the area volunteered to, and then you had the 1916 Rising, you had the War of Independence, you had the Civil War, you had the gentry being burned out, and you also had the gentry, some of them the likes of Lord Portarlington, the man in Coote in Ballyfin, deciding to leave the country.
James,
so
we're getting tight on time here, but I want to know then, you've chronicled in impressive detail the gradual descent of cricket from its original position and platform in this country. How did it start coming back? Where is its position relative to its history today?
Yeah. Now, in 1970, the team started in Tullamore. It was a team, a kind of a taverners team. John Chamley, they all worked for D.E. Williams, and there's a family background there because my granddad, Lord of Mercy on him, worked for Williams's. So they were a taverners team. They played social cricket. Mullingar started, and then they started a Midland League, and this makes Paul Rouse's point. Once you have structures in place, clubs then can start to form. So you got Mullingar, Athlone, Edenderry, and so on. So, and now there was a league and there was a cup. So even if you hadn't cricket for one season, you could come back. And that was the start of the revival. The Tullamore team entered the Midland League, and they played in Tullamore until in Spaldingstown, where I would have played soccer as a youngster. And then they moved from there to Durrow, just slightly out, a few miles outside Tullamore, in 1981. Played there till 84, and then the Wardrop family offered a field in Portarlington. And the reason it wasn't greatly successful in Durrow was it's a good bit outside the town. So now we have the Midland League, we have the teams from area playing, you have a South East League as well with Wexford, and with Portlaoise being in the middle of that, obviously it was going to be interested in playing in either league.
Yeah. Then
with the team changed, when it changed to Portarlington, it stopped being called Tullamore, it was called Midland. Then it came to Portlaoise, and the rugby field was offered in 1985, and they moved to Portlaoise. They played in Tucker from 85, and after that, then they entered the Dublin leagues, and now you had a revival. Roland Bradley and these lads living in the town, Tim Crow, Thomas Cross, they were joining the club now, and the club then was developing. But it was the only club around at that stage in Laois. So you have moved from a lot of clubs, a lot of teams where in the early stages there was Mount Mellick, Abbey Leaks and all of those. Suddenly in the county you just had team which morphed from being called Portlaoise then, it was called Laois, and they were in the rugby ground in Stradbally, or in Tucker first until 2018, and they're in Stradbally in a magnificent ground now on the Abbey since 2018.
It's been a colourful history, and your enthusiasm for it shines through speaking to you today, James. For anybody who's been interested in our conversation, this book is out and available now, The Story of Cricket in Laois. You might tell us where it can be purchased, and also you might tell us about an event you've got coming up very shortly as well.
Yes, it's in all books in Portlaoise. It's in Whelan's in Portarlington, and it's also on Amazon, but it's very dear on Amazon. And I get author's copies, which Roland Bradley and his wife Liz look after. And their email is r-embradley@hotmail.com. So author's copies will come, the paperback is something between 20 and €25, and the hardback is about 40. Whereas if they go to Amazon, it's going to cost 60 or 70 plus postage. So that's now, if any of your listeners are in Tullamore, we'd love to be there as well, if there are any of the shops, because Roland will make it available, because it's not just up to the really 1970, it's not just Laois. It's basically it's the Midlands. And then the event that we're talking about, the library in Portlaoise is running a number of talks in July, and I'm giving the first of them in the library. Laois Local Studies, Sinead Holland is coordinating it, and it's 7:00 in the library in Portlaoise. And it's culture, it's history we're talking about. I mean, the same as the chat we've had today. That it's not cricket; it's about people who played cricket.
That was James Bennett talking about his new book, The Story of Cricket in Laois, and offering an important insight into some of the background of the sport in the county. We're coming up to the end of Health and Fitness here on Midlands 103, but we're not done just yet. Next, after the break, we're talking gut health and more specifically, the Gut-Hormone-Axis.
Health and Fitness with the all-new Midlands Park Health and Fitness Club, where relaxation meets rejuvenation. Find out more at midlandsparkhotel.com. Midlands 103.
Welcome back to Health and Fitness. Let's talk about gut health, because over 9 in 10 women understand the importance of gut health, but the majority don't know about the Gut-Hormone-Axis. That's according to a new survey from Yakult anyway. Luckily, Dr. Mary McCreary, who's a clinical nutritionist and dietitian, is on hand to tell us all about it. Mary, good evening.
Thank you very much for that. Basically, as you mentioned there, that most people are very aware about our gut health now. There's been a lot of publicity and advice about it. But surprisingly, from this survey from Yakult, just under 86% of women had never actually heard of the Gut-Hormone-Axis. And basically what the Gut-Hormone-Axis is the relationship between our gut microbiome and female sex hormones. And we're talking there about estrogen and progesterone. Now, if you take it that women throughout their life cycle will always describe different gut health issues during various parts of either their during their menstrual cycle, or if they're in perimenopause or postmenopause. And even though something like 45% of women complain about loose bowels when they're menstruating, only a third have ever tried to support their gut health during this time. So where women are very aware that they're having difficulties with their bowel, very few actually try to do anything about it, because they're just not aware that there is a relationship between their gut and their hormone levels, which do fluctuate throughout life.
And would that have anything to do with, I suppose, the other issues that women can face during their menstrual cycle? The pain that they'll likely go through during the cycle. Does that kind of supersede these gut health issues and stops them, I suppose, thinking there's maybe another issue at play there?
Well, I suppose it's just that they're not even aware that there is a relationship between the two. So say, for example, as I say, 45% of women during menstruation will say they have loose bowels. 33% will say they have gas. 34% say they will have bloating. But very few will connect it to actually what they may need to do. And this is the whole idea of the campaign, is to try and make women aware, first of all, that they do need to be aware that it is actually part of their gut health as such, and the different things that they can do for it. So basically, it's to try and improve your gut diversity, which means introducing as wide a range of plant foods as you can into your diet. So yes, we're talking about all the different types of fruits and vegetables. At this time of year, we have an abundance of all the strawberries and raspberries and berries that are produced down in your lovely part of the world. But then we have all the current vegetables that are being produced, but also all types of whole grain cereals. So whether you're getting that through whole grain breakfast cereals or you're getting it through whole grain bread, all the types of different whole grains, and then adding in nuts and seeds into the diet then as well. So trying to get as wide a diverse diet really as such, so they get a diverse microbe as well, if that makes sense to you.
Absolutely. And is there any sort of foods or diets they should stray away from when this starts to become a problem? Is there anything that may anger that and cause the spike?
No, this is all about adding things in rather than taking things out. Now, in addition to all of that as well, there's all the general health guidelines as well about making sure that they're getting some exercise, that they're sleeping well, that they're staying well hydrated. So all the general good health reasons as well. But certainly the main thing is to prioritize gut health, regardless of what stage of your life, because it does change as we go through life a little bit as well, particularly for women. And it's to prioritize your gut health, which will help the symptoms that you're getting. So even if you're looking at somebody that's going through the menopause, 46% of women will report bloating when they're still going through the menopause. And yet only 22% have tried eating more diverse high fiber foods as a result. So that connection isn't there, that I'm going through this, I'm getting these symptoms, and I need to change my diet.
The topic of the menopause has come up a lot more recently. I think it's become more prevalent in the media. Do you think that's maybe why people don't realise this connection was there in the past, is that this wasn't something that was always spoken about as freely and as frequently as it is now?
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, sort of it was always something that was kept quiet, that really wasn't spoken about, it wasn't really acknowledged. But it is a significant change in your hormone levels, which in fact can actually have a significant change in your gut microbiome as well. So where your estrogen levels begin to decline, that is going to influence your gut function and your diversity. So it's really, really important during that particular time of the menopause that there's a lot of things you should really be doing on your diet at that stage. Number one, you need to be looking at your heart health. So, following a Mediterranean type of diet, lots of fruits and vegetables, using your polyunsaturated fats, having a combination of fish and meat and plant foods as well, but also to looking at your bone health, because putting in those calcium-rich foods is really, really important. And I would see milk and milk products as being superfoods, and yet it seems to be something that people don't really recognise as well. So making sure you have very much a heart-healthy diet. Weight management is a big thing as well during the menopause as well, because again, with the change in that hormones, weight gain is very much part of it. You've got a reduce of your muscle mass and an increase of your fat in your body. So it's very important that you're getting enough protein in your diet. You don't have to have excess, but you may need to make sure that you have enough. But looking at it as very much a heart healthy diet, keeping your saturated fats down, keeping your salt intake down, but making sure that you're getting your dairy products and that you're getting enough protein in your diet as well.
We're of course talking about how these symptoms can flare up during the menstrual cycle, but these solutions you've outlined, eating more plant-based food, is that something that women should be looking to do all year round so that it's more helpful when the menstrual cycle rolls around? That's
a very, very valid question in actual fact. I would be certainly recommending that all year round they should be looking after their gut health, because it's such a new area that if you can look after your gut health, you're going to obviously decrease a lot of the symptoms or gut issues that you may be getting. But also when you then have these fluctuating hormones, you're already doing it in advance. So therefore it's going to respond, and that microdiversity is going to be there all of the time. So I would recommend they should be doing it all year round. Stages of your life.
one final time. So Dr. Mary McCreary, what should people do to improve their gut health if we can round it up?
Okay, lots of fibre. So lots of plant-based foods, lots of fibre, nuts, seeds, whole grains, fruits and vegetables. Get plenty of exercise, at least 30 minutes walking a day. Sleep is such a really important part as well, and that can also affect your gut. So making sure you're getting plenty of sleep and staying well hydrated. So overall health, but lots of fibre.
Dr. Mary McCreary, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Cameron.
Thanks very much. Much appreciated. That was Dr. Mary McCreary discussing Yacult's new survey on gut health. That's all we've got time for on Health and Fitness on Midlands 103 this evening. David Hollywood is back on your airwaves next week, and Joe Cooney will be bringing you the best in country music in just a few minutes' time. But first, the news at 8.